Hello and welcome to the Free Cheese, episode 599. I'm your Joe Dix, joined by Matt Sellner.
Hello.
The Free Cheese is a weekly video game podcast about video games brought to you once a week by thefreecheese.com. The list saga continues. The Resident Evil saga continues, actually, Matt. Now that I think about it, we're adding another one to the list this week with Resident Evil 5.
Sure are.
The I don't know why I keep thinking this one is the divisive game, but that was really 6. I guess 6 wasn't necessarily divisive because everybody hated it,
I
but
could say I think
either
five's
way.
divisive.
All right, then fair enough. Divisive. So we'll talk about our experience with that, how we played it together. We'll review it and we'll rank it on the list. Until then, or not until then, before that though, Matt, what is the best setting for Resident Evil? Which biome works the best for you? You like a city? You like a house? You like the Antarctic?
I like. I couldn't get it out. I'm so excited.
Passionate.
Yeah, yeah, that's the word. I think the mansion like mansions or
Yeah,
whatever
yeah.
work so well. Even
So what are you
calling
thinking? Like 1 and
the Code
8?
Veronica kind of has that makeshift
Yeah,
mansion
you're right.
slash lab. And what else has 2, 3, 4? 4 has the castle, which is close
Yeah.
with the random volcano room. Which stay tuned for more volcanoes.
Yeah, there's plenty more
Or
volcanoes
Not
where that
not
one.
not volcano room, the lava room. But yeah, stay tuned for more lava. Yeah, I guess no. I think mansions just work because you got the long, skinny hallways. You got all the doors. Of course, some architect made a design that makes no sense where you have to have 5 different
Yeah.
keys that don't go to a section at all. It's for one door in the east wing, one door in the west wing, one door for the outhouse outside. Like it's all over
Yeah.
the place, but I think it serves well to that. And I think even like going back, not just to Resident Evil, but with the NES game that we played, well, that's on the
Oh,
list.
yeah.
Yeah, like again, I think the setting for that game also is appealing. I can't remember
Yeah.
the name. Help me out on the game.
Sweet Home.
Sweet Home. Sweet Home.
Yes. Fun, weird game that is.
This one.
Had a good time movie as well. I think I'm with you. I did really like the castle in 8, the Dimitrescu Castle Dimitrescu. Like also my most recent memory of that castle was playing in VR. So having the like
Mm.
sneaking around there while you hear the sound of like one of the bug women flying up behind you was fun and scary and whatnot.
Getting front row view to a good cutscene as well.
You do get quite a view in VR. 5, however, has no mansion in it. Well,
Well, yeah, yeah.
it's
Careful,
kind of something. Yeah,
careful.
you do kind of bring everything back. Um, let's talk about Resident Evil 5. Developed by Capcom, published by, you're not going to believe this, Capcom. Released on the Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, and Windows, originally on March 5th, 2009. Of course, it's out on like everything right now.
It was just Xbox at launch.
Was it?
Yeah,
Wow.
I thought it was correct. I'm sorry if I corrected you and I was wrong. I
I
remember that being a
believe
360
you.
exclusive.
I've got March 5th release on 2000. March 5th, 2009 for 360. Um,
Yeah,
in
here it.
Japan, go ahead, hit me.
Hold on. Playable game demo. Da, 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 da. And
I've got March 13th on PS3.
or maybe it was just
Yeah.
it was at Xbox's conference, and that was just such a big deal. I remember Microsoft being like a big deal for this game.
No, you're right. They are. Now that I'm looking at it, like, yeah, no, the 360 version launched I guess it just launched 8 days earlier in Japan than it did in the US.
Oh, okay. Sorry
But
about
yeah,
that.
360 and PS3 are both then. But today it's out on Xbox One. There's a native
Everything.
PS4 version. There's a Switch version. You can kind of play it all over the place. Um, I by the time this episode airs, maybe it's announced, maybe it's not. These games have been, or this game has been like rated for PS5 and Xbox Series. So there's a good chance there's a native, you know, 4K whatever version on its way. Back of the box. This is the one that changed everything. You don't have to face fear alone. The world has learned the meaning of terror. A decade after the events of Raccoon City, the evil Umbrella Corporation has been destroyed, but the effects of its horrific creations still linger. Sorry, this is tiny red text on a black background. I gotta make this larger if we're gonna get through it here. 35 is tough stuff. All right, continuing. Gripped in fear of another biological incident, world governments formed the Bioterrorism Security Assessment Alliance, BSAA, determined to stem the spread of biological attacks. Now, Agent Chris Redfield has been sent to Africa to investigate reports of a new, more dangerous outbreak, joined by his new partner, Shiva Alamar. Both must work together to discover what's really happening and stop whoever is continuing Umbrella's evil legacy. For the first time, join forces with friends as you control Chris Redfield or Shiva Alamar and fight fear together. Intense visuals, so real you won't be able to forget them. Powerful lighting effects create tension in both harsh sunlight and extreme darkness. There you have it. Find out more at residentevil.com or capcom.com. So that's a little bit of the setup for Resident Evil 5. How would you describe the setup for RE5, especially coming off of 4? We talked about 4 now 2 years ago on the podcast. We covered both versions of 4 story-wise. Where does this fall in line with that? What's happening here in 5? I'm going
Uh,
to you as our Resident Evil lore expert.
this is this is the latest part, like pretty much the latest events at this point of release. It takes place after 4. But yeah, this is kind of going away from Leon, more focused on Chris. Leon gets name dropped once at the very beginning of this game. With the what was it, the Leon case or the Kennedy case or something like that, I think it was referred to very briefly. Yeah. But no, this is essentially like a second strain of pretty much the last plagas. It's called Ouroboros, ends up being called. But yeah, it, like I said, taking place after the fact, and it's Chris and his anti-bioterrorist terrorist organization. This one kind of, so like 4 kind of gets away from the regular like Resident Evil type of the lore that like 1 through 3 and Code Veronica have created at this point.
Yeah.
Just because it needed like a reboot in a way that 7 kind of also does. Yeah. And then 5 kind of comes back swinging with like you want your familiar characters? We got you. And starts rapping some of that stuff that you know from like what specifically like 1, 3, and really probably 1 and Code Veronica, honestly. I'm just roping 3 because Jill's in it, but yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it feels like the true continuation from Code Veronica in late, in a brief synopsis here.
So we played Code Veronica last year for the podcast. Was that the impetus for adding it to the list this year? Adding 5, I should say.
I wanted, so kind of this crosses a couple things or checks a couple boxes. One, I just want to get more co-op games on the list because I think we had a bunch of fun playing Civ last year together, even for the short period. Now I want to get more of that. I think sticking with Resident Evil is safe. And yeah, I figured. I mean, honestly, there's 5 and 6, and we just came off of Code Veronica, so this seemed like the more obvious choice. Not
Yeah,
to say that we shouldn't revisit 6 at some point, but
and perhaps we shall.
yeah, no. Mostly just for the co-op piece of it, and just kind of sticking with getting another Resident Evil in here since we've been kind of piling it
Yeah.
on the list.
Yeah, I mean, we've added both fours. We did Gaiden back a while back now. And then yeah, Code Veronica X last year with episode 580. So go check that out. It's more recent, only 19 weeks ago. Feels
Feels like a
like
long
19
time.
weeks is a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oof. Um, so prior to this year, had you played five
I had played most of it by
alone?
myself.
Okay.
I had
Yes.
played a couple levels with someone, split screen. But it was like very like maybe 2-3 chapters, if that.
Okay.
Most of my playthrough was done by myself.
Yeah, I never played this one. Um, I'm trying to think. At this point now, I guess I've not played. I've played more than I've not played, I suppose. So that's good. But I think 5 and 6 out of the main numbered titles, I've not played 5 or 6. Well, now I've played five. So I think 6, and technically I never finished one. And of course, I never finished the original 1, 2, or 3. I finished the 2 and 3 remakes, but that's it. But yeah, I mean, 5 was one, and 5 was one where I thought that the gameplay, I don't know why I thought it was like a top-down shooter kind of thing. Like I thought you were like overhead, circles around your characters, right stick. I thought
Detonation,
this was a house
house
mark
mark, yeah.
game. Yeah, yeah, exactly. So yeah. Uh we've covered this before, but just to set the stage for those who've not been around for a Resident Evil conversation, what's your favorite Resident Evil game?
I hope I'm consistent with 4 remake.
I
I
think
think
since
that's
4
what
remake has released, that's yeah,
I
at
think
least
that's
been
what I
your.
said last time around.
Is
Um,
there one in the series that you haven't played but you want to?
I think I've hit. Well, I guess I haven't played 2 or 3 remake. I don't know. I'm just not interested in
Wait,
playing it. I
you
own
played 2 remake?
I own it, and I played some of it. I never completed it though.
We gave it Game of the Year in 2019.
Yeah, remember how we don't play everything and
No, no, no. I know. I just feel like you wouldn't have been so strong on it had you not
it
played
scared
it
the
all the
hell
way
out of me.
through.
So yeah, I gave it. I beat the drum.
Well, hot dang.
At this point I've seen that game front to back, and I actually have more fun seeing that game with the new uh randomizer mods that had just been put into it. So
Oh man, yeah.
yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at there. But I think
So do you feel like you'll go back through those now? Like,
I might. I don't know. I've
because
really
you also finished 7, which you couldn't have done before mentally.
yeah,
So,
I that's actually really recent. I just finished 7. I started playing through 8 again. I was more so doing that because Victoria was watching me play through 7. I was like, well, you got to see the next chapter. Um,
of course.
I'm right. It's where my last save was, but I'm right there before a certain house.
Oh, nice. Very good.
I did not. That would. I was ready to keep going. She bailed on me, so I'm ready to go through the house.
Bailed out of fear or just
I think it was getting
over it?
late. I think it was like 10 o'clock. It was time to
Oh,
bed.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think I've hit them all. If anything, I think I might want to go back to like the classic ones at some point, but I don't know. I'm not rushed to do that either.
No, we got Dino Crisis 2 coming up. That'll kind of scratch that itch, I think, for the old
You
school.
know what? I'll take that back. The only one I haven't really tried is 0. But like I'm like holding my breath on if I really
Yeah.
want to do that.
I know. I have 0. It was gifted to me by our good friend Tyler, who had a bunch of games he was clearing out, and I got that along with former stream game Scooby-Doo Mystery for the SNES. So got those. Um
The collection of horror games you got there.
Classic. Yeah, all the classics rounded up. I don't know. I do want to finish one. For me, I think now I kind of want to see the DLCs through. Like I never did the DLC for 8 in particular. Like I really want to see the
I
I forget
guess
her
I didn't
name.
do
Is it
that.
Nora?
Mia. Nope, nope, nope,
Mia.
nope, nope.
No,
Mia is Ethan's
the
wife.
wife. Yep.
Rose. Rose.
Rose. Thank you. Yeah. I want to see that story play out and see what happens there. I don't know that there's anything more to it if it's just whatever, but
I'm just thinking of that. Sorry. Remember the old crazy bitch at the beginning of 8 stomping around just by herself in the village, and she's like, Rose, Rose.
oh yeah, okay.
Thinking of that line now.
Gotta replicate that just in the grocery store one day. See if people keep their distance a little bit. Uh, so I guess let's dive right into. We'll talk gameplay, and we'll talk a little bit about how it plays. We'll run through the story. We'll just kind of talk about our experience. So, what's to you the main difference about gameplay in 5 when compared to the rest of the series?
So it mimics 4. Um, and 4.
Surprisingly to me, it does.
So yeah, 4. I mean, got like over the shoulder. It still had like these weird, somewhat weird tank controls. It's not like tank controls in the traditional sense, but more so like you have to stop to shoot. You can't move and shoot at the same time.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I still in my head think of them as tank controls, but just in a different way. 5 continues that. It adds a co-op partner, whether AI or human. And like I don't know, the game this becomes a weird question because the beginning, like the first like 3 to 4 chapters, I would say this is very similar to like pace and gameplay to Resident Evil 4. By the time this game ends, it starts to feel more like Gears of War.
Mhm.
And that's
Yeah.
where I think the end of this game is where this game gets divisive. And knowing where 6 goes after, how 5 ends, I think that's what, like, I think 5 is liked until 6 comes out, and they're like, oh, God, 5 ruined it for us, kind of, sort of.
Yeah,
Uh,
5 set us on this path. It's funny you point out the gameplay there as the detractor because for me, from the outside, it always seemed like the story was the part that people turned on at the end of 5. And I can see where they still might in a way where, I don't know. We'll talk more in depth, but I kind of like the recapitulation of 1 and the way it puts those players back together, and I think it's interesting there. But yeah, I didn't think about the fact that like it goes so gears heavy. It's so action focused that we really shift away from Resident Evil, which co-op obviously is a shift, but the gameplay itself, just being more action oriented, I think changes the like survival horror game element of this. I mean, do you feel like this is a survival horror, or do you feel like this is an action game?
I would say this is more of an action game especially by the end of it. Because, like, ammo's not the biggest concern. And it never really is.
No.
There are times where, like, you would like to have another shot in your shotgun, but you have to use your handgun to get yourself out of a
Sure, sure.
situation. But like you have ammo for something, and if you don't have ammo, you're probably stocked on grenades and kind of forgot about it.
Yeah, it's not like when we were playing 1 for the site and I was just like pow 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 pow
don't
pow
do
pow pow
that.
yeah, I'm out.
um,
So yeah, go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say, like, and especially just coming fresh off of 7, where like shotgun ammo was like gold in that game. It was
Yeah.
liquid gold. This I never. There are certainly hard parts where, you wish you had more ammo. I think, but I was never really concerned about that. I think that's one of the keys to survival horror is needing to survive a bit.
what do you think defines a Resident Evil game? Or I guess what makes a Resident Evil game scary to you?
I think like a big bad that is just threatening and ever present, whether the game is programmed to literally do that to you with Nemesis or Mr. X in more recent times, or um, uh, 7, 8. 7 is the Baker family at various points. 8, um, Lady Dimitrescu, and
Yeah.
the daughters and stuff like that. Um, I think when there's like an intimidating factor to it, and like again, you're kind of not, you don't have that ammo. Um, but again, 4, 5, and 6 get away from the formula, and they're core entries of the franchise. So I guess Resident Evil itself is just like this weird, ambiguous, like it's almost like eras. It's almost like Taylor Swift. You have eras. You have the tank era. You have the action era. You have the Winters era.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it really makes me wonder what 9 is going to be. But
Right?
yeah.
And the remake era.
Right, because yeah, there's technically, yeah. So I guess I was gonna ask what is, or I was gonna pivot from what makes Resident Evil a Resident Evil game, but I guess in turn, like, there's never really been a solid thing. As soon as they start
Or
to
I was
find
gonna
their
say,
footing, they
yeah.
change it.
Or like it
So
doesn't go in the right direction. They need to change it.
yeah, exactly. So co-op, we played co-op through this time around. This is my only experience with the game. How did you feel co-op impacted the flow of the story?
Um, tough, tough for me. I would like to hear your thoughts on this first because I knew the story of 5 going into this playthrough.
So, something I've learned as I've gotten older, or something I've become more aware of in myself, is that I don't know if it's attention span, I don't know if it's overactive imagination. I'm kind of dumb when it comes to like, I have a really, really great memory. I would say impressive at times with a lot of weird
I was gonna say
stuff.
you have great
But
recall
like,
of facts, and that's like
sure. But like if you told me to describe the plot of this game right now, I got nothing for you, dude. Like it's just not there at all. Like I've got oh hold on. I've got a list of movies I've watched this month. One, two, three, four, five, six. Like I think one of those six, maybe two. I could walk you through like what happened in them from beat to beat, beginning to end. But otherwise, I just have like these general impressions of like what it felt like to watch it, or I liked it because I liked that scene, or I liked that actor. Like when it comes back to RE5, like I don't know, man. Like I vaguely remember the plot. If you put the outline in front of me, okay, I got it. But like I don't know, I don't remember any of it. So in terms of flow of story, it's tough for me anyway. I
okay.
do think that like playing co-op, you especially are so into the RE lore that there's stuff that I definitely forgot about 4 that you're throwing at me as if I'm asking questions while we're playing. So I think that's helpful in that regard where like you're filling in those gaps I just don't have the knowledge of. Um and I do think that like I think that's the positive side of it. The negative side of it is like where I'm an idiot, screw something up, and we've got to re-roll and whatever. Like that, I know, but like that does impact the flow technically. Where like okay, and like it it makes those moments sometimes stand out more because of the thing that happened during our gameplay versus hey, I watched this cutscene and I obtained the information. Because there were some times where like we'd hit these cutscenes and we'd have to like skip them over and over again because we're just like rerunning the thing. What was the one you're? What are you remembering?
I'm this is the perfect encapsulation of your memory. There is a great scene where is it the Magini? Is that the name of the enemies in this game? They're called Magini. It's something like that. They're on bikes, and I'm laughing. I'm like, cause I know the scene. And I'm like, oh yeah, here come the wild hogs, and you just fucking name dropped every single one of them in the middle of this cutscene, and I'm just dying laughing while we're trying to do the QTE prompts. I'm fucking cracking up because I would not have gotten more than maybe one of them, and you just fucking bang, 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 bang.
You got you gotta know the hogs, dude. That's the important stuff. Yeah. That Magini is correct. You got that right. Those are specifically the motorcycle Magini, or as I like to call him, Tim Allen. Can I do it now? Tim Allen, William H. Macy. See, I'm gone. John Travolta.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Yeah. Travolta.
Who's the fourth one?
I think he's African American, but I can't think of who it is.
Ah, it sucks that Wild Hogs is now in my search history.
Oh,
Martin Lawrence,
yeah.
of course. He had his downfall, you know.
Oh man.
So yeah, I mean,
Resident Evil 5
co-op
Wild Hogs.
co-op impacts your story
Yeah.
that way. I think that is the fun of co-op games like this too. It's just like the absurdity that gets associated with it because there's like so many just like little moments you build as friends playing things that it transcends the game itself. In turn, and I don't know if this is the right game for it anyway because of just the nature of RE5, but do you feel like playing in co-op changes your fear or your level of fear when playing the game?
Yeah. Yeah. It just like you just have someone capable with you. I remember like the liquor room, right? Like I remember when I was playing through that. It was like right after that I stopped playing. It was more so when it turned to Gears of War. I don't think I stopped because I was just disinterested. I think either I borrowed it for someone, they wanted something like that. Anyway, I remember like the liquor room being like terrifying.
Yeah. It was pretty tense for sure in this.
Tense,
Even like,
but like I was like walking through it like, all right, we got ammo.
yeah,
You're
yeah.
capable. We got. I was like, we have X, Y, and Z. If shit hits the fan, we have X, Y,
Define
and Z.
capable. I don't know about that, but yeah. Well, I guess so. Barring that, right? Like, is there anything inherently scary about RE5? The liquor room, I think, is a great example of like where this game can build that sense of like fear and terror. But to your point, you're so well equipped, especially that's like pretty late in the game. You've upgraded your weapons, you've got a ton of ammo on hand, you are loaded with grenades at that point. It's not that bad. Is there anything else in this game that feels like scary? Actually, I know one now that I'm asked. I asked the question legitimately, not just because it's in the outline, but I was trying to see if you thought of the only thing I can think of. And again, I ruined it by being an idiot. Was the crocodile bar?
Right, but like I kind of took. So like, if I would have let you take the lead, you would have ran right into the crocodile. Like, oh shit! But I was
Yeah.
like, oh, let's walk around the side, cause
Yeah.
let's get us
And
through
then on
this
the way
part.
back, after we had a very successful trip,
Yeah, let's go get a
I
fish.
saw a fish that I thought might be worth a lot of money, and not just $50 or coins or whatever the currency was in the game. Yeah,
Gold.
Zenny. I think it's Zenny. I'm gonna go with Zenny. That's the Capcom canonical money. I think you're right. I think it is gold.
I know
So
Pacenta is 4.
yeah, we talked about weapons and being stacked and loaded by the end of the game. What weapons do we have here in RE5? Are they different than 4? Are they different for the series? Is there anything new here? I feel like everything I remember is like pretty standard fare for what we expect in Resident Evil.
You have your types, which are I think your standard fare. Like you have your type of grenade launcher, you have a handgun, submachine gun. That's like a
There's a
sniper
sniper at some
rifle
point.
and then like an assault
Mhm.
rifle. I think might be one or two like special weapons I'm not listing here, but that's for all intents and purposes the main one with their own ammo. Oh, and a magnums. But I feel like the selection in this game is way more than I've ever seen in any other RE game. 8 included, because I know 8 has a fair share of weapons by the end of that game. Um, so yeah, I think like you on your first playthrough, like you'll undo those boxes and you'll get like an assault rifle. But then like later on in the game, if you look at your store between chapters, you'll see like there's like 4 other assault rifles available for some reason, and they all have like their
Yeah.
weird mid maxes, and like one will have a better clip, bigger clip size when fully maxed out, but it might hit with a little less punch. But you make up for it in reload time or something like that. There's like the 4 different. Oh, no, like the critical was the 4th thing. Like they might have a better critical hit than or critical hit chance or something. I don't know. Um, so like yes, I think you get like standard fare, but I think like the weapon selection is quite impressive for this game.
Yeah, and you end up like that kind of bummed me out by the end because I feel like I went so hard in like upgrading one of my things that I'd get something that like if I just waited, I could have upgraded a different version of it and we did fine in the end. Um I opted for like a pistol shotgun combo if I recall correctly. What about you? You
Went mostly TMP and rifle.
and is that typical to your usual?
I Depending on the game, especially if I know it well enough, I'll opt for the TMP if I can manipulate it. Because my thing is to like hit someone in the knee, then go punch and kick them, and then stomp and use a knife. Like that's just like conserve the
Yeah,
ammo. Even though in this game you really don't need to, but conserve the ammo.
yeah.
So like I like TMP or a handgun will get switched out depending on the game. Usually try to rock a rifle. Just seems like it hits the hardest. And then I will probably keep a shotgun or a magnum with me, and I might, depending on where I die, where my saves at, I might like swap the shotgun for a magnum and like special use cases, something like that. But that's usually my set loadout.
I think I kind of stuck to what I stuck with. I think at some point late game I ended up with the TMP when we were playing and I needed it. I think I was like low on ammo in some section or something and it was good, but yeah, I don't know. I feel like especially with these types of games, a shotgun is always my like preferred.
Good crowd control.
Yes, very much so. Um, do you think this game was difficult?
The last couple chapters,
Granted,
yes.
yeah. What do you think made those difficult versus
I think the game just threw everything at you that it had.
yeah,
I'm thinking of one room in particular that is just a pain in the ass. The
which one
double
are you
double minigun wielder people.
that one sucked.
And
That
then
one
right
really
before
sucked.
that, those weird like spider things that come out of the cocoon spawn behind you, and that room's just loaded with enemies that
Yeah.
have rifles. Again, this is Gears of War by the end of this game, so like everything's just shooting at you. And
Yeah.
cover
And you
is
need
tight.
to cover, but you can't really cover because yeah,
Yeah,
it's they didn't make Gears of War. They yeah, they just they wanted to get close to it. Yeah. I think there's that one we talked about the scary liquor room where there's like 1,000 of them just in like the glass room and like you're like, oh, are they gonna break through? Do they see me? Do they know I'm here? The other liquor room though, where you're like working your way up and around the path and lowering
oh, the
the
one where someone's up and someone stays down.
yeah.
Yeah.
That one I think was an interesting mechanic. I liked rooms like that in this game, especially playing co-op. I think that would have frustrated me to play with the AI, but playing with you, just being able to communicate, like, and we screwed up something the first run, and we very quickly were like, okay, it's this, okay, so like then we had a plan. It was easier to do that kind of thing, and like it's a nice like rewarding moment I think in any game anyway like that kind of like strategy it's one thing to do it alone but like to collaborate and you're like bouncing off each other's strengths you know exactly like who's doing what, or in this case too, like also just knowing who had what weapon. I think like at first on that one, we'd sent you up and kept me on the ground. It was like, well, wait.
Yeah,
You've
no,
got the
I'm
long
not
range
equipped for
rifle.
this.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Like it just made sense to do it that way. Is there anything that made it difficult to play with another person versus solo?
No, no, not in this game. No.
I think what did we play on normal? I don't think we did like hard
Ye-
or anything.
Yeah, that was normal, I think.
Yeah. I imagine ramping it
Which,
up. Yeah.
well, so I don't know the difficulty. I don't know how the difficulty works in this game, but I know like Resident Evil 4 has its difficulty variates depend on how well you're playing. So when you pick normal, it doesn't necessarily like stay at normal. It fluctuates with you. And when you pick professional, you're just constantly at the high end of that
I
fluctuation.
see.
So I don't know if Resident Evil 5 is also doing that to us or not.
Yeah. I don't know enough about it. It never felt bad until it felt bad. I'll
I
give it
just think
that.
that room just sucks, period.
Yeah, that's a bad one. What do you like about Resident Evil 5 overall?
I like the I kind of like the environments that they throw you into. I like that opening like I don't want to call it a village because it's not really a village, but I like that little opening little like
Yeah.
suburb area that's like a not developed suburb area kind of thing, like the markets all around and stuff like that. I think that was cool. I like the boss
A
fights in
lot
this
of like
game.
rooftops to jump up on in there and
Yeah,
stuff. And
yeah.
like, yeah, you get it. It's a good introduction to like the gameplay and like the things that you'll be able to do.
I like the game gets
Uh,
weird with that weird like the island hopping and like the tribes like the
yeah,
tribe enemies. That just kind of gets weird and it's just different for Resident Evil. I think at this point in time, and then you go into the caves that then have like the weird, just like traps, the sunbeam traps and whatnot.
yeah, yeah,
Just different
yeah.
stuff they
Very
throw
like
at you.
Tomb Raider kind of in a
Yeah,
way
like
with that.
it's like I know we're in. I know it's like we're technically in Africa, but it's like it feels like you're in like dealing with like the Mayan civilization or something like
Yeah, yeah,
that.
yeah. It didn't. Yeah, they kind of crossed their themes there. But that I did like the like global nature of this because it kind of lends to the
Oh,
idea that like Umbrella is huge,
oh,
right?
good.
And like what?
I'm glad you like global, cause maybe we should be playing six then. We go global, baby.
Oh man, maybe season 14. Stay tuned. I'd like the because the first three games in particular are so confined, right? Like obviously the thing, and we talked about it when we were playing it, and I think we've talked about it at different times, but like the big Resident Evil thing is always like, well, I'm in a space and suddenly I'm in somewhere that is completely different and it's a biomechanical lab that's underground and doing terrible experiments on everything. And like one, two, and three, it's like it's also confined to Raccoon City. And two and three are just mirrors of one another anyway. Four takes us to Spain, and it's like, well, let's look at where this stuff started and why it started and where it came from and all of that. And like five takes you again, and like all still like
Haha,
backing with
surprise
like
lab. Gotcha.
yeah, of course, right? But like still with the backing of like science and how they were trying to extract things from different plants in the area that are indigenous to this, and like it tied back into like some of the like to your point, like the different tribes and the lore with those, like there's stuff that like they used it for their medicine or they used it for this or it was a taboo to do this, like all those things that played into like the greater umbrella piece. I don't know where six goes, but seven does a bit of that kind of like return to like you don't think it does at first, but it eventually gets there. Eight as well, like we're in Europe again, and it's more of like a you're seeing again like the origins. Everything's just about the origins of Umbrella, I suppose, in the end. But um, yeah, I I guess. Well, let's talk about story in a minute. What's this game missing?
I guess it doesn't have like the big bad that constantly chases you. And I don't think Resident Evil's doing this really yet at this point. Nemesis did it right to a degree, but limited by hardware. I guess Mr. X on the Leon B side, or I guess on the B sides in general. But like again, limited to when that's happening. Um, so yeah, I just don't think the franchise really has that yet per se. But kind of looking at it from today's Resident Evils, like it doesn't have that because six actually does that a little bit. It's more scripted, but there's a whole campaign around like a running away from a big bad. Um, so yeah, it doesn't have that. And it really, and we kind of mentioned this earlier, but like it leans too much into action. Yeah, there's a couple rooms where like get goosebumps, hairs are raised a little bit, you're little bit of tension in the air, but it doesn't have that. Four has that way more than this game ever gets to it.
Yeah, yeah. There's you eventually like I don't know. The Wesker sequence at the end is not even that. I don't know.
Yeah, it's
And
just
like yeah, four has the big lake. What is it? The fish, the big old.
I am blanking on the name of it. Yeah.
You're making my memory loss feel more validated. But yeah, like when you got to ride the boat and chase the fish down. Like there's bits of that in four. We don't really have like that kind of thing here. Um, I do like that this game kind of jumps. What's it called?
Del Lago of
Del.
Lake.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. I like this game. Like we had moments where we went to man. Like I'm thinking of the like that section where you're on a boat and you come up and you have to kind of like divide and conquer to like lower the bridges, like those types of
Mm-hmm.
things where like we're picking off enemies in different ways. There's like these big kind of things that feel like these big set pieces. There's the big boss fight against the giant cephalopod, whatever Napoleon. What was it, dude?
Oh,
My dude.
I'm blanking
I forget his
on the
name.
names. Yeah,
He
I
was
don't know that.
great.
I don't know the enemy names outside of Wesker in this game.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
forget his
Oh God.
hold on, let me get out of my wild hog search here.
Excella. Is it Ricardo Irving? Irving.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah, his voice is just fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that whole fight was really, really great too. Um, and just different, like, it was huge, right? Like, it's a massive, uh, but yeah, not necessarily like what I'd think of in a Resident Evil boss fight. Um,
Yeah. Not traditional, at least.
no, no, not at all. And you go everywhere. You end up in a volcano fighting someone. Let's talk about the story. Um, is this a Resident Evil story? Does it feel like a Resident Evil story?
Yeah, I feel like there's like levels to each of these Resident Evil games of like this is a Resident Evil game, but like has that like lore room that tries to tie everything together last second. That's like it really is like the winter stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
There's like the medium ones where like you have a core character has been in a couple games, but like it's not necessarily tying anything significant that we don't know anymore. And that's like Leon in 4 and Jill in 3, at least I think.
Yeah.
And then there's like the tier A Resident Evil lore all throughout with these characters. It becomes ridiculous, but the more ridiculous it becomes, the better it actually becomes in the dumbest way possible. And that is Resident Evil 1, 2, 5, and 6. And it really is the ones that involve Wesker in some major way, or
Hmm.
just dumb, ridiculous things happening to these characters just left and right.
Yeah, I think
Oh, Code
I don't.
Veronica's in
Yeah.
that A tier as well. I don't think I mentioned.
Oh, yeah. No, that's a good point. I I think it comes back to your point before. Like I wouldn't have thought of this as a traditional Resident Evil game, but there isn't a traditional Resident Evil game, right? Like it's just it's part of it's it's part of the series history, and they're still figuring out what they want to do with it. And yeah, there's no set template. They just kind of do what they're gonna do. Um, what do you think of the story overall in this one? Do we
Uh,
need to summarize it? What do you want to do? What do you want to talk about story wise? I
no,
don't.
I mean, what is it? It's Chris is sent by the BSAA to investigate a
Yeah.
new potential, pretty much virus outbreak, and then come to find out, surprise, there's a virus outbreak here. Um, and it all the main thing you go there for is you're trying to track Irving, right? And then as you track in Irving, you're discovering some stuff, and it unfolds, and you have your layers to it like an onion, and you just keep peeling back the layers, and then surprise, Wesker, and then
Right. Yeah.
and then
It
things
all
really
makes
go
sense.
off the rails.
Yeah. Did the game surprise you literally? Like, was there a moment where you felt like story caught you off guard or it did something unexpected?
I feel like the first time around, I didn't realize that was Jill, stupidly.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean, it's obvious as all hell, but I do think the first time
They
around.
they hide it a little bit. I only knew because I knew the whole, you know what I mean?
I
But
didn't know
like,
if you knew, so I wasn't like trying to like joke about it or not, cause yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I knew only because of Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3. Because when you play as Jill in that game, she's got the ruby in her
Oh,
chest.
that makes sense.
And I remember learning in that she was mind controlled and blah 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 and like yeah. And that was really the last time she appeared was 5, but also uh, outside of 5, like that Marvel vs. Capcom game, they put her in there in that appearance, and it wasn't even like
Yeah.
yeah. Um, is there anything you wish it did differently, story wise?
No, I no. Um, I would say I wish maybe I wish a certain character didn't meet their what seems like their full perish. But again, I think Resident Evil shines when it gets totally ridiculous at times, and I think it gets totally ridiculous to bring someone back. Not in a dumb Star Wars Episode 9 way where like you get the rolling thing and it's like surprise, this guy's back, and here's why.
Oh, I don't want any explanation. Not in that regard.
No, no,
Like,
no. I want like a story beat to happen, like chapter, where this is like a 16
yeah, yeah,
chapter
yeah, yeah,
game.
yeah,
Like, give me this chapter 6, something dumb happens, and surprise, motherfucker, he's back. Like,
yeah.
no, I don't want the episode. Yeah, I don't want the Star Wars example. If you know, you know.
I don't, but
It's dumb.
I
I don't even waste my breath talking about it.
let's talk about Wild Hogs instead.
I'd rather.
The true cinematic classic. Uh, how do you feel about the way Resident Evil 5 handles the characters we already know coming into it? Chris, Jill, Wesker. You feel like we're
I think I think at some point, like you have to have an expectation from your audience. Like you are slapping a 5 on this, so like I think a newcomer can kind of play catch up a little bit, especially when they do the callbacks to what happened um in the
mansion.
yeah, in like the Spencer Mansion, but not like from Resident Evil 1 when like Chris and Jill went back to take out Spencer. And
Right, yeah,
Wesker
yeah, yeah.
happened to be there.
Which
I think you kind of get there's some pretext that these characters have been involved in things before.
yeah.
So like, I think it moves the characters along. I think you get some true resolutions here. That kind of do start to set the stage for 6. Might ends up being 6. No, I have no problems with it. I like the way they connected some through threads, like with the plant the plant that they find and kind of in the middle of the game tying back to like the creation of Umbrella and all that stuff. So yeah, there were some interesting
How was
moments.
that different from 8? Because now I'm fuzzy on 8. Like,
I need to reread the lore dump in 8. I think
yeah, like I feel like this defines the origins of Umbrella, but then 8 also maybe 8 just defines the beginning of like Spencer.
the
I don't.
play the mold is something to the creation of Umbrella, and I'm not sure if it's related to Ouroboros. I can't remember how they
Okay.
tie the mold in.
Yeah. I don't remember. What about new characters? We get Shiva in this game. We of course get Irving, who was a fan favorite. Uh,
Excella's the other female baddie.
yeah, she's the one that's with Wesker until
Well,
she
it's not.
is not. Uh, do they all like in terms of the bad guys? You feel like they fall in line with the typical, you know,
Squeaky
RE
voice,
bad guy?
ridiculous character. Hell yeah! Give me more. Give me all the Alexander Ashfords. Give me them all.
Yeah, yeah. And she was the one that had the fun way of saying Ouroboros, right? Like,
Yeah, she was like had like a British accent or something, right?
and she said it so like Alrosparrows. Like it was she was completely uh off. Or one of them felt like they were speaking it as if they'd been given the voice direction by a Japanese native speaker. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the pronunciation was very yeah. How about Shiva? You said she comes back in 6, right?
Nope.
Oh,
This is their
so
only
this is one and
appearance.
done for Shiva.
One and done. So far. So
Interesting.
far.
Sure, sure, sure.
Um. Yeah, she's fine as a character. It's just very weird that like Chris is like, oh, I see this picture and it could be Jill. I gotta keep going. And then she's like,
Yeah.
I'm along for the ride, Chris, because we just met earlier in the day. Like, like the
Yeah.
motive is like, oh, this is my land too. Like I gotta do this for my people. I think is like what they try to push, but it doesn't like her motive for sticking around seems like a weak one in the terms of everything.
Yeah, because like she had some stuff with her mom, right? But
I don't
that was
remember. I don't
about
remember the
it.
parent stuff, to be honest with you. But yeah, like I don't know. She's fine as like a character. I just feel like the motive for why she's still tagging along when shit has hit the fan is just a little weak. But again, we're
Her,
being critical of a Resident Evil game here, so or story, I should say.
yeah, yeah, no, that's true. I see here her parents died when she was 8 years old in an apartment factory accident. She was taken in by her uncle, eventually running away, uh, and found by a truck driver who was part of a rebel militia group. And of course, she found out that the accident that killed her parents was a bioorganic weapon by the pharmaceutical company Umbrella.
There it is.
Um, yeah, so Umbrella killed. They destroyed her whole village, et cetera, et cetera. The thing that I did not know is that Shiva has actually returned. However, it was just for Dead by Daylight. It was not for another Resident Evil game.
I didn't realize she was in Dead by Daylight. I knew they've done a couple Resident Evil crossovers, but
Yeah,
interesting. I thought
so
you were going to tell me it was for what's the game that's being shut down, the multiplayer one.
which one?
The like the
Oh, the
third person
Resident Evil
shooter,
game. Sorry, sorry,
the
sorry.
third person
I thought you
one.
just meant like the game
Oh
being
no,
shut down.
the one that came
Yeah,
with
yeah, yeah.
3, I think.
Reverse.
Yes, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, they really reversed the decision on that. Yeah, she could come back. I had Shiva was cool. Overall, before we jump into visuals and sound and get ready and rank this, did you have fun playing Resident Evil 5?
Yes. More so with you.
So you think this would have been worse as a solo
I
experience?
think it is worse than a solo experience. So I went back and played through most of the game because I did not. So before I realized that the Resident Evil 5 Gold Edition trophies, well, in this case, gamer score, before
Yeah.
I realized it was tied to multiplayer modes, the like versus multiplayer modes, um, I was like,
Uh,
oh, let me start like going through some of the challenges, trying to find those emblems, unlocking all the guns, like the typical like this is how you 100% a game. Um, but she will just eat your bullets. You give her whatever,
oh,
and she just eats it. She's not an effective partner. Her AI is not great. When she gets one
Interesting.
little ding on health, or you get one little ding on health, she's like coming over and spraying you. Like, it's helpful, but it's not, because I'm trying to save that heal because it's a full heal.
Full
So
heal.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah. Like you and I were able to easily be like, we can ride it out. It's
yeah.
fine. We can checkpoint over here, and yeah.
It's not
So
like the
wait,
it's not like the absolute worst thing that I've ever experienced with like an AI partner, but like this
yeah.
game is part of the reason why I think you have the unrealistic things in BioShock Infinite with Elizabeth and Ellie in The Last of Us, where like they'll go right in front of an enemy. Joel's in
Yeah.
cover, they go in front of enemy, but like you're still hiding. I think like this game and maybe some others around this time like influenced some of those decisions because of the frustrations
A
that
lot
can.
of like, well, we can't do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now you
So
keep saying she does this, she does this. Does that mean you cannot
no.
choose to play as her?
So you can play as her. Sorry, you
Okay,
can play as
I
her,
was
but I
wondering
was
how that
playing
worked.
as Shiva with you, so I figured I'd ride
Yeah, yeah,
Chris
yeah,
on
yeah,
the
yeah.
solo adventure. Yeah, you
I
can
just
go
didn't know if
before.
they locked you into
Nope,
one.
you can go either or.
Got it. But either way, I imagine that his AI is not much better.
Yeah, it's all the same.
Yeah.
And then like because of that though, it makes you think like that liquor room, the one where you send someone up and someone stays down. I thought long and hard who to send up and who to send down. I ultimately was like, I feel like I can control the flow of traffic with the liquors and she'd be fine. But like, she does not fight. She will run and just go and push that
Oh.
thing and just push it until she gets hit. And when she gets hit, she would continue to go pushing it. She does not stop. So
So
like
you've gotta like
it is
be
up to
on.
you to yeah. I think the liquors move a touch slower. Like they do like the stalking instead of like
Yeah, yeah.
sprinting. That kind of helps you out. Or I don't know if I got lucky on the ones I missed, but like there's like situations like that where it's just like, come on, like
Man,
do the
no.
smart thing, please. Like they're like take 1 second to shoot the person in front of you, then do the objective. Um, that one where you send her very early on is right before the first chainsaw enemy, where you send Shiva across the building to go work your way down to unlock that door that Chris is locked in. Like, she will get overwhelmed. And I have her with like unlimited ammo TMP, and she just gets
Oh my
overwhelmed.
gosh.
Like, it's not the best experience. It's playable. I'm not saying like it's like a bad, you're in for a horrible time, but it's not as good as playing with co-op. And I think that's part of the reason why I feel like this game can be divisive, is because how did you play this game? Did you play this game with a friend and have a good time? Probably. Or did you have the frustrating experience of having to deal with AI?
Yeah. Yeah.
I can see both scenarios there, and I kind of wrote that in my review. Like I see it, and I felt it from both angles. It makes it kind of tough to score critically because of that. But like that final room with the two minigun dudes, I mean, I'm right. I got like unlimited ammo, Magnum. I'm like packing. I'm not just like playing the regular game at this point. Like I have equipment, and it is brutal because she just dies. It sucks. Or she's not there to bail you out, or she gets away from it.
Right.
It's tough.
And this one, if one person drops, it's game over, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, there's the
Yeah.
downstate that you can get to someone, but that's on the timer. And
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Nope. Let's quickly run through the look and sound and get ready and review and rank this thing. How do you describe the way this game looks?
Yellow.
Great answer. I was gonna say tan. I
Oh,
wore this shirt because this is the color of
I
the
didn't quite
game
plan
today.
for this, but sure, I think I'm close within the family. No,
Yeah.
I've had the honor of watching this game streamed, and on a PC where there's a mod that takes off the yellow hue
Oh wow.
and color corrects. This
Wow.
game looks good once you take away the yellow hue.
Interesting. Yeah, I wonder if a full remaster would fix that, or they'd probably.
Yeah, I mean, I think the game looks good otherwise. Like, I like the character models. I like the area designs. I think they still hold up today.
Yeah.
But no, it's yellow.
Enemy designs. You feel good about the way everybody looks, feels, etc.
Well, I have
Does
to be
it feel
careful.
Resident Evil
I
to
have to be
you?
careful how I answer that because I become a racist. Wasn't that the big deal going into release, right?
There was that in terms of like the zombies in the game, but I mean in terms of like getting
No,
the
no, I like no, I think the enemy designs were cool. I like the bosses, although like not your traditional Resident Evil bosses by any stretch of the imagination. I think they were well done. Um, the spider things looked weird. They did a cool like little visual effect when they got
yeah.
closer to you. I'm trying to
The
think.
one boss that we had to fight with the fire, the flamethrower,
Oh right, yeah,
felt
yeah. Mm-hmm.
very he looks very Resident Evil. Very like Nemesis adjacent in a way.
Wesker and his cat eyes still look amazing.
Never looked better. Sound effects, anything stand out there just in terms of like all the guns sound like they should sound, all the
I think so. I think you got like you got decent. There's not really like a save room in this game per se, but
yeah, no.
you do have that little like music in the gun shop
I like
selection
that was
ammo.
the only music when I was sitting down to like put together our outline for this. I was like trying to come up with questions to talk and talking points around sound. I'm like, I only remember the sound in that room. I remember no other standout like music, soundtrack, score, nothing. I got nothing. Voice acting, sure,
I
because
think
I
part of it
had
is because you're constantly like in battle. There's like no quiet moments. There's like
no,
not much of it, especially after like the first major chapter.
no. There's cutscenes and stuff, but I don't think there's any like backing tracks to any of those. Um, yeah, the I love all the over the top voices. I love you still have like your groundedness with different characters, right? Like I think Chris still feels like a grounded person despite having gone through all of this and continuing to go through it in this story. Um, yeah, I think the performances were all well done. Again, a couple weird pronunciation things where it was really just like the Ouroboros thing standing out to me, where it was just like, I don't, okay. I feel like we could have done a second take on that, fault them the pronunciation of the word, but it didn't. It wasn't enough that I was like, well, this game really
Yeah.
no. Yeah. Let's get ready and rank this thing. What's the best part of Resident Evil 5 to you?
Um, I like. I kind of the end gets ridiculous, but I kind of like this gameplay. I've like OG Resident Evil 4 is still one of my favorite games. I think this just kind of continues that gameplay with enemy design and just taking advantage of like what next gen hardware from 4 like just throw more enemies at you, kind of starting to overwhelm you a little bit. Um, but yeah, I like the gunplay in this game. I like the weird tanky like you are stuck like trying to aim.
Yeah,
Like the movement's a little weird, but like I like the fact that you have to depend on like the backward 180 turn to get out of things. I don't know. It just if
I forgot
there's
about that already.
if this game like goes away from the traditional tank control formula, like those little movement touches, whether it was on purpose or an oversight or whatever, kind of give it that classic tank control feel,
Yeah,
while being like a breath of fresh air at the time.
yeah, yeah. I like this way more than I thought I would. I thought this was gonna be kind of a mindless. Again, I thought this was a top-down shooter, so uh, knowing that this was just a co-op RE4, uh, that was a little more action focused. Like I think it's fun. I think it's not what I want in a Resident Evil game. Like if you told me that if you asked me which direction to go with 9 and you said RE5 or like RE8 or you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm going 8 or I'm going like 2. Like I really the 2 remake, just give me one of those every year in a new setting, drop me in whatever. I obviously new things, new hooks, but yeah, like for me I like that more than this, but I still like that this exists. I like that it's there. I wouldn't mind a split. Like Put out something like this every couple of years. Put out something that's scary every couple of years.
I mean, we're in a weird. I mean, we talked about this, I think, in the Code Veronica episode, like the future of Resident Evil. I think it's in a very weird spot,
Yeah.
and I think it's like a dice roll on what they're going to do next. And I think ultimately it's going to end up being the Zero remake that we keep hearing rumors about, which is kind of like kind of takes the air out of my sails just a tiny bit because I'm like I want 9. I want to see what they
Yeah.
do, but yeah, it's really they can do a bunch of different things, and I think it's kind of exciting.
Yeah. I agree. I think the good thing is Monster Hunter just came out. So now Capcom can talk about other video games. So we should know soon. I would hope. Um do you feel like 5 led to the decline of the series?
Uh, yes, like yes, because it went far more action, and I think it sold more. Did it sell more units than 4? I actually don't. I don't know that. I might be making that up. Or it like I feel
At the
like it
time
did.
it might have.
I feel like it did just as well as 4, like their expectations. And I think they saw that number and they saw this was more action than 4, and because of like, oh well, we got more sales, let's keep trending that way. And not really sitting down to really critically think about why
Yeah.
why that happened. But so yeah, I think 5 does lead to 6, but like 6 just kind of shoots itself in the foot for just being just it's a weird experience. I don't want to say it's like a bag. It's just a weird experience with the way the campaigns are set up. There's like a
Yeah, it's like 4 intersecting
you
stories, right?
think
With different characters you play
it's
as and
yeah,
pairings
it's
and
like if you thought the Resident Evil lore was crazy just like within games, try to see a timeline of the events of 6 between all the different characters and like when if you want to play chronologically, when you should play each chapter of each character.
yeah, no.
It's
Nope.
weird. And like all the campaigns play differently. Like it just feels like they try to make 3 different games and none of them turn out that well.
Ugh. Well, let's talk about how well this one turned out, especially when ranked against the list. I did something weird here on my end looking, and I'm looking. I started at the top of the list just because I feel like I often will start in a random spot, and then it's hard for me to get out of that spot.
Okay.
So thinking in that, I'm like quickly falling because I'm
Well,
like,
yeah,
well, yeah. And like I hit Code Veronica and like definitely worse than Code Veronica.
I would agree with that. I like Code Veronica better.
I think I like Other M better than this.
I think so too. I think
Do
before
I
is Deadly
like?
Premonition.
Yeah. Man, good, good, good. We're right there. I was like, do I like Deadly Premonition better than this? Because I don't.
I don't think so.
I think this is over Deadly Premonition. I think this is over Siphon Filter,
Probably.
but maybe I stop at Luigi's Mansion.
I'll stop there. I'll pick and choose my battles for another day.
Yeah,
I don't mind it
I think
being
as an
new
experience,
46.
it's just solid.
Because
But yeah, yeah,
again, the problem with this game is it's really like, did you play a co-op and probably have fun, or did you play it by yourself and probably had a frustrating experience? Not saying that you can't have a good experience playing solo, or you can certainly have a bad
yeah,
experience playing online, especially or like with people, especially if it's randomly online. Who knows what that looks like?
yeah,
But like it's hard to hit that in between marker, and I think just putting it right there might be that in between marker.
yeah. Well, there you have it. The new 46. Resident Evil 5. Thanks, Capcom. Make 9. That would be nice.
With Jill campaign.
With Jill.
With Jill.
With Jill. Yes. Bring Jill back. We got some stuff going on. We just did a live stream not too long ago where we played a Sega Genesis video game. We've got another live stream coming up in a couple of weeks to celebrate Capcom's latest release. Matt and I have been playing some Monster Hunter Wilds, and it's Matt's first time, so we're gonna do a live stream of that. However, unlike our live streams, we're not going to be ranking that game yet. But at least like now, by that time of that stream, we will have gotten our feet wet. We'll understand the game. We can do some hunts for an hour or so and just kind of hang out and kick it. So stay tuned to thefreecheese.com for the schedule for that. And of course, we've got a ton of good video games coming up to cover. We're in spring now, which is just jumping off. Got all sorts of fun stuff. We've got the Halo killer itself, Killzone. We're returning to Castle Wolfenstein. We're going to outer space with the Master System Zillion. All sorts of fun stuff. We've got more Capcom coming up with Dino Crisis 2. We've got Flower. That game company's Flower. But it all starts next week, or continues next week. Because today was our first spring game, technically. Welcome to March. Next week, episode 600, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Finally getting not finally getting Mario Kart on the board. Getting our third Mario Kart game on the board. But we're finally getting Mario Kart 8 Deluxe on the board just in time for Nintendo to officially reveal that next one for Switch 2 and make everyone forget that 8 ever existed, I hope.
Put
Till
48
then.
carts on the track. Do it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, make one of them Samus.
Everyone's here.
If only. Until next time, thank you, Matt. Thank you for hanging out. We'll see you then. Bye.